So hello everyone, you're listening to Lipstick and Leather or watching this online, and I'm talking with Roy Cathey from the Fifth. How's your day treating you?
What's happening, my man? Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Cold here in Thunder Bay. We got snow and we even had rain yesterday.
Really? Well, I'm speaking to you from balmy North Carolina, where it was 72 degrees today.
Wow.
But
I
that's
can't
okay.
imagine.
It'll be 32 degrees tonight. That's the way the weather is here. It'll be like warm during the day and freezing at night.
All right, now I love the new Fifth EP and the video for Dance Little Sister. Will there be a second video?
We're hoping to put a second video out. Right now, we're just kind of seeing how the momentum of the EP goes throughout 2021 and through the first of 2022. But we would definitely like to get another video out there because the response for the first one was so strong.
Very cool. Now, the first Fifth EP in 2002, the EP is super rare. Was there ever any talks of maybe re-releasing it at some point down the road?
Well, you know, the Fifth is a project that I put together back in 2001 when I first moved back to North Carolina. Uh, every release was like a little moment in time. It was just like a little moment that we tried to capture that lightning in the bottle, that moment of that lineup of the band. Um, we haven't talked about releasing each release independently, but we have discussed the possibilities of doing somewhat of a best of type compilation CD in the future, because we did basically release 2 EPs, 2 full lengths, and now we have this, you know, the EP that's come out now, and we also have a single called No Going Home that never really had a home as far as an official release. It was released as a single and as a video. So perhaps with the compilation CD, we might be able to get that on there as well.
Awesome. Now, the Fifth have played a series of stripped down acoustic shows. Would you guys play any more, maybe sometime down the road, or any more planned?
Absolutely. I love singing in the acoustic environment. I feel like there's nowhere to hide. You know what I mean? When you're in the live environment with the full amps and the drums and everything, there's a certain amount of chaos, you know. And with the acoustic setting, you know, you're stripped down to the bare bones, and you're only left with your talent and the song. And if those two can't stand on its own, then you know where we go. So I enjoy doing it, and yes, if we get the chance, we will do more. Yes.
Very, very cool. Now, any more plans for your Boston tribute band? Don't Look Back to do any more shows?
Well, you know, that was a project that I got involved with as kind of like an auxiliary singer, kind of like the East Coast guy. That project has been going for about 10 years now. So when I got involved in it, it was about 2 years back. And unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to do as many shows with them as I would have liked to. But it was a great experience for me because it really helped improve me as a vocalist, because I had to dive into the catalog of Brad Delp, and he's a hell of a singer. I didn't really realize, you know, how phenomenal he was. So hopefully soon. I'm still involved with the project, but there's just not as many shows as you know, going on as I would like.
For sure. Now, I love the remaster remix version of Confessions of a Man. Was there any thoughts of maybe re-recording this CD?
Well, you know, a lot of times what happens is you run in, you know, especially with this day and age in the music industry, you know, you come across budgetary issues. And a lot of times it makes more sense to, you know, does it make sense to record it, or does it make sense to remix it? In this particular instance, the label that took on the project, they decided that they wanted to strip it down and go through the recordings and do a remix, and I'm really pleased with how it came out. The record came out around 2008, 2009, but you know, it's still got a lot of legs left in it. There's some great songs on it, and you know, once again, it was one of those releases that was put out under a label that ended up folding. So, you know, there were a lot of songs on that record that didn't get the exposure that it deserves. So once again, going back to the compilation CD, perhaps a lot of these songs that people aren't familiar with will get the chance to hear them.
Very cool. Now, what's the progress on your upcoming project with some North Carolina guys, some former members of COC, Growth and Conformity?
You know, that's kind of a secret project that I've been involved with. You've obviously been speaking with my manager, Dave Tedder. You know, that's a project that is very much in its infancy. It's got some former member of COC. It's also got some former members of some pretty well known and predominant North Carolina, hard rock and metal musicians. I'm excited about it because it gives me a chance to explore another side of my voice and another side of my lyric writing, which is a bit more on the heavier and on the darker side, a little bit leaning more towards the Mastodon, Soundgarden kind of thing. So, you know, it's exciting. And right now it's just some guys that have wrote some really, really, really good songs. And they've asked me to come in and kind of, put my thing on it. So we're pretty much at that point right now.
Very cool. Now, you've been talking about writing an autobiography for a little while. Is there a release date, or do you think maybe in the new year?
You know, I mean, it's gotten really hard to balance. You know, if I could clone myself or perhaps win the lottery to where I don't have to get up and go to work my day job every day, I might have a little bit more time to do all my creative endeavors. But, you know, I have started on the book. I would like to get it out in 2022, but, you know, I've got the fifth project going on. We've got some big news that's going to break come the first of the year. I've got Steel City still in the can. I've got a lot of stuff going on. So if I could just kind of find the time to dedicate, you know, at least an hour or two a day to write on it, I'm hoping to get it out in 2022.
Very, very cool. Now, how is it meeting CC DeVille when the fifth jammed with CC at the Poison After Party in Myrtle Beach?
Man, you know, it's obviously, you know, you hear different stories about cece. You know, it kind of depends on what time you met him and his life and what kind of substances that he might have been involved with. But when I met cece and when we got to we got to jam with him twice actually. He was very happy, very sober, a very cordial guy. He was very excited. He just got finished having a son. So he was bragging about his son all the time. But he was a super nice guy, and he enjoyed playing with the band. And, you know, there's some video out there of us jamming on some stuff with cece. It was one of those cool rock star moments, you know. And I was already friends with the tour manager that was doing their tour. So the following night, whenever we got to go to the concert and go backstage, it was cool to turn the corner and there's cece walking down the hallway. He goes, "Hey, it's the fifth guys. How's it going?" You know, so that was kind of cool.
Definitely very cool. All right, now you auditioned twice for Lynch Mob, Stone Temple Pilots, and Red Dragon Cartel. You clearly, in my opinion, have the voice for any of those bands. Other than maybe the location of living in Fayetteville, why didn't you get any of the 3 gigs?
Well, you know, all of those situations were where there were open auditions. And I feel like there were, you know, probably just inundated with submissions from people all over the world. You know, man, I really don't think that logistically is the issue for me. I think, you know, everybody knows that there's airplanes now. And you know, and I can get, you know, pretty much anywhere. I wouldn't be singing in the amount of, I mean, Steel City's based out of Los Angeles, the Boston Tribute's based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and you know, I do shows with those guys. So I think that a lot of times with these things, and you'll probably agree, it's who you know and who has that inside track.
Mm-hmm.
And whose manager knows this manager and this guy that can make a phone call and go, "Hey, you know, you need to check out so and so." and those guys on that have the the inside track, those guys get the first look, so but I mean, I feel like my auditions were strong. I feel like I could hold my own with any of those projects, but the lynch mob thing, there's just already so much lineage with the Cold Sweat Ferrari and all that kind of stuff, so it's always been, my name has always, whenever George and Oni have their falling out every 5 years, my name gets kicked around. But I'm also really good friends with Nathan Utz, who's been doing a spectacular job filling in, doing some shows with Lynch. So I'll bow down and let my boy Nathan keep George happy.
Now, we were just talking about Steel City. Now, I know Marty has a bunch of new demos written. Can we expect maybe a follow-up to Mac 2 and maybe with some more co-writes from yourself on this album?
Well, that's what we've discussed. Mike's a very prolific songwriter. He writes constantly, and from what he's told me, he's already got just a ton of riffs and songs and stuff like that. Generally, the way it works, Mike's already got a pretty solid idea about the lyrics and the melodies of where he wants to go, but he has discussed on this next one perhaps me taking a little bit more of a role. Excuse me, it's my text message going off there.
Okay.
I suspect sometime next year we will start working and putting something out, and I do expect to have a little bit more of my fingerprint on this one.
Very, very cool. Now, on the Cold Sweat topic, of course, you guys were signed to MCA, but I know other labels, including Eddie Trunk's Megaforce, was interested in signing you guys. What made you guys decide to sign to MCA?
Well, all those business decisions were being kicked around before I got involved in the project. But in retrospect and in hindsight, I'm sure that the guys would have much rather gone with Megaforce than MCA, because MCA just did an atrocious job. They didn't, there's such a thing as just being too big, and I think that whoever was in charge pretty much thought that MCA's bankroll could put the thing over the top, but they didn't know how to work a rock record. They didn't know what they were doing, and they butted heads with our management the entire time. We were managed by Wendy Dio, and come to find out they didn't even register the trademark of the name of the band, so we were embroiled in lawsuits the whole time that we were unknown to us. And it was a pretty ugly little rock and roll implosion. But like I said, those plans were being done before I got involved, and hell, at that time, man, I was 23 years old. I was a kid from North Carolina. I was just I just had a shit-eating grin on my face. I was like, oh damn, I'm in LA, shit, so.
And you guys were going to be called Crying Shame before you changed the name to Cold Sweat, correct?
We volleyed around a lot of names because we kept running up with a roadblock. And we come up with Crying Shame as a name, and they did a search and come to find out there was a band called the Crying Shames. But by that time, MCA's art department had already come up with a logo with a C and an S, and we really liked that. So we kind of tried to narrow our names to bands with names with a C and an S. And I believe it was our bass player, Chris McClernand, that come up with Cold Sweat for the Thin Lizzy song. Mm-hmm. So, so that's how Crying Shame was volleyed about. A lot of CS names were. So very frustrating with the name thing. That was just, aye.
Now, with 25 songs being written for Cold Sweat's debut, any chance the band would revisit any of the tracks that didn't make the debut, including maybe Out on My Own for a follow-up, maybe Frontiers or some label to do a new album?
Well, when we were on the cruise, the 2020 Monsters of Rock cruise, where we got to do the reunion, we got a great response. There were some Frontiers representatives there. They were interested in us perhaps putting something else out. I think that there is a chance that that may happen in the future. Right now, I think the guys would just like to get the live material that we recorded on the cruise. We'd like to get that out and and judge the response and see what kind of roll it, take it up the flagpole and see who salutes type thing. So I'm sure that'll happen sometime in 2022 as well. But Cold Sweat is one of those projects that it was a bitter divorce. We got back together very amicably. There was instant magic whenever we got the chance to play together again. But a lot changes in 27 years. Everybody's got lives and wives, and they're going in different directions and stuff like that. But we all really did enjoy the experience. So I think that there is a very strong chance that we will at some point do something again. Yeah.
Hoping.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, after Cold Sweat, there was Sweating Bullets. Of course, you guys record a bunch of demos. Lots of labels release old demos these days. Would any approach you guys to release them, or maybe even re-record them? Because I mean, you still got the voice, obviously, which could be pulled off if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the rest of those guys, those demos and all that stuff, it's that whole capturing that moment in time. I don't think the guys would necessarily want to revisit those. I do think that they would want to much rather, write new material and try and start a new chapter. But those demos are out there. They're on the internet. They're on YouTube. I mean, to me, it's really fascinating that, 30 some years later, people are, still trading those demos and still, hey, have you heard this? And hey, have you heard that? The whole Ferrari, Lynch Mob, Cold Sweat, the whole thing kind of flows in between so many different, bands and musicians. And, it's a very incestuous little relationship.
Right. Now, other than the Black Sabbath songs that you've covered in the Black Sabbath tribute set list and throughout the time, you've covered Blue Murders, Valley of the King, Judas Priest, Victim of Change, Thunderkiss 65, Boy Zombie, Black and Blues, Hold On to 18, Jefferson Starship's Jane, and She Sells Sanctuary. Would you ever record a cover album?
You're talking to a kid that came from an era, in the early 80s, there were bar bands everywhere, and you grew up playing covers and learning how to play like your idols. So I'm basically a guy that learned his chops by singing in cover bands. So I've covered so many artists through the years. I've done a cover record. I've appeared on one. A friend of mine, a guy named a phenomenally talented drummer named Bevan Davies, he released a solo. Yeah, that's it right there. Great record, right?
Yes.
It's who the backup band is, right?
Yes.
The whole Nashville rock and roll residency guy, and it's so crazy because it's like he told me who was on the record, and then later on I become friends with like Phil and all those guys that are like Phil's now like playing an Accept now.
Right.
And last time I was in Nashville at the Rockin' Pod convention, me and my girlfriend were going through the convention floor, and here's Phil from Accept is like, hey Roy, how's it going? I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Oh yeah, I played on a record with you, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, but yes, I would totally do a cover record. No, my girlfriend wants me to sing a Christmas song every year, and she gets mad that I don't. So.
And Rockin' Pod was so fun. I was there about 5 years ago, and I want to go back again. It was good. Great. You weren't there, unfortunately, when I was there, though. But
it was a lot of fun. Steel City got to do an acoustic set, and the fifth will probably be making an appearance at the upcoming one. So I'm excited about it. So you need to make it down. It's a really good time. Really good time.
For sure. Now, I love the show you did with Low Hanging Fruit, the project. Love the set list. Would maybe that happen again on either a cruise or Rockin' Pod or something?
Well, that's another one of those crazy things that are presented to me. And God, I think I had like less than a week to prepare for that. It was literally, I got to be friends with Sebastian and the guys in Tantric through the Fifth uh, opening up for them in the Southeast. And I remember one of the shows that we did with them, Jaron, the bass player, come up to me and he was like, look, man, he goes, we love your voice, and Sebastian is writing some riffs. We've got this thing that we're doing. Hugo can't sing the way that you sing. Would you be interested in working with us? And we've exchanged demos and stuff like that and developed a friendship. And then, just one day out of the blue, Sebastian is like, hey, man, he goes, look, we got a chance to do this live stream thing. Larry Moran and my dad put it all together. We'll just do covers. You pick out whatever you want. I'm like, sure, let's fucking go. Let's do it. He goes, okay, could you be ready in 4 days? Could you fly out in 4 days? And I'm like, yeah. So it happened really fast. It was a lot of fun. We were basically the guinea pigs for the whole Monsters of Rock live stream experience that was going on through the pandemic. We were like the first ones that they kind of did that whole thing with.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate that I got to do a live stream on the East Coast with Seeds of Low Hanging Fruit and one on the West Coast with Steel City. And the Seeds project, it was dangled around for a chance that we might have got to do the Monsters of Rock cruise when they were talking about making it a land event in 2021.
Right,
But that, of course, fell through. But I'm still in touch with the guys, and they're always busy on the road with Tantric. So who knows what the future holds? I'm like the guy that sings in 50 bands and never becomes famous.
No, I love the Gibraltar CD. Now, I know there's a bunch of unreleased songs, including Find Your Wings. Would those ever be released down the road?
Wow, you've done your research. Unfortunately, no. Those songs, the Gibraltar record was, something that I did when I was like 17 years old. That's the band that I was singing with whenever I got discovered down in Florida to go do the Cold Sweat album. We had a follow-up CD where we had about 5 or 6 demos, songs done up. And man, I really wish that stuff could see the light of day, because there was some really, 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 really good stuff. And the reason that I wish that it could find the light of day, because it's got former members. I mean, it's like Troy McLawhorn is in Evanescence now. And, Bevan, who's on drums, who's on that CD that you were holding up, Bevan's toured with Danzig. He's toured with Static X. He's now currently with Zoso, a Zeppelin tribute. That's huge. So, I'd love for that stuff. I wish that I could, but man, that stuff is so old. I don't even know where the masters are. So.
Fair enough. Now, would the Pain Society tracks ever be released?
I don't know. I mean, that's, once again, there's so many different demos of different projects that I've been involved with through the years. The Pain Society one was a very fascinating one. That's the last project that I was involved with before I left Los Angeles. And it's very heavy. I mean, it's a very heavy, aggressive Skid Row meets some sort of industrial Nine Inch Nails hybrid without the keyboards. It was a different path for me, but no, man, once again, that stuff just kind of falls into those super rare demos that people somehow trade on the World Wide Web, probably the dark web. I don't know where these people find this stuff. I didn't even know you knew about that stuff. When you said Find Your Wings of Gibraltar, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Talk about digging deep. This guy's researched some shit now.
Thank you, Roy. That's awesome. Now, do you still have your microphone collection?
Yes, I do. I have a pretty extensive microphone collection. I'm proudest of. I have a 1942 Tesla microphone that I'm very proud of. But I've now got a home studio going. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm starting to get a little bit more into the studio mics and stuff like that. But as somebody that's been a singer his whole life, collecting microphones just kind of seemed like a logical thing. And if you look at some of the older ones, they're, especially some of the older, like CBS old radio microphones and stuff like that, very beautiful, Art Deco looking and stuff. And I have stuff like this, I mean, these just, I mean, they're cool little things. And as a singer, it's just a cool collecting item for me.
No, absolutely. That's very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time, Roy. That was a lot of fun.
My pleasure, my friend. You are a very well researched interviewer, my friend, and your background is awesome. I love the background. That rocks totally. Love it.
Altogether. Well, thank you so much for your time. I could probably air the interview tomorrow on my radio show and have it up on YouTube in like a day or two after that. So
awesome, man. Ryan, I want to seriously thank you for what you do. It's guys like you. You guys are the ones that are in the underground holding the flag up now, because our industry has just forgotten about rock and roll. They've just we're the redheaded stepchild now. So it's guys like you keeping the flag up and flying, man. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. Okay?
Much appreciated. That was a lot of fun, by the way. It made my day. Thanks so much.
Hey, anytime you need another one, man, let me know.
All right, we'll make it happen down the road. Have a good evening, Roy.
All
Take care.
You, my friend. Take care now. Merry Christmas.
Yes, right. You too. You're the first person I said that to this year so far.
All right, man. Merry Christmas, buddy.
All right, you too. Take care. Thanks again.
Ryan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.